Thank you so much for coming to see Titanic on the set of Anything Goes.
Hello everyone, my name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Vlogmas 2023. So the way that I do Vlogmas is that I release weekly reading vlogs throughout the month of December. I've been doing this for the past couple of years now, so I will link those playlists somewhere, probably up in the cards above if you want to check out those vlogs. But I just really love my own method of doing Vlogmas. I find that it's just so much fun to come out with these vlogs for you guys and document what I'm reading and what I'm doing during the month of December. There's always so much going on this month, not only because of like Christmas and the holiday seasons, it's also the month of my birthday. And as you saw from all of that B-roll footage I shot, I was in New York City this weekend, and this was just a trip that I decided to go on with some of my very best friends. These are friends that I have had since college. We have known each other for like 12 years now, which is absolute insanity. But one of my friends now lives in New York, specifically Brooklyn. And so it was just like the perfect excuse for us to all have like an epic reunion and see some shows together and just hang out in New York City. And like, oh my God, I feel like this was like the best vacation I've ever had. Like this trip was truly like 10 out of 10, would highly recommend taking a trip to New York with your friends if you can do so. Like it was just like so much fun. So I'll quickly take you through what we did because oh my God, we did so much. But I flew into New York with a couple of my friends and on Thursday. And so we just like hung out, got dinner Thursday night. Friday morning, we went to the Radio City Music Hall Christmas Spectacular, which of course features the Rockettes. Makes me sad that they don't give out programs for the Christmas Spectacular because I would like hold that up if I had it, but I don't have one. But this is a show that I have seen before. I saw it all the way back in 2015. And I just love the Rockettes. I follow their Instagram account. I'm obsessed with them. But they have actually added a couple new numbers to the show since I last saw it. So it was really amazing for me to see it for a second time, but also none of my friends had seen this show before. So I was like, this is a must-see. This is something we have to do. And the tickets were fairly priced. And it's just so amazing being in Radio City Music Hall. Like, holy shit, that theater is so stunning, so beautiful, huge, like one of the largest indoor theaters I think I've ever been in. And yeah, just an incredible show. And so like the rest of Friday afternoon, as you saw, I think I got some B-roll. We went to Bryant Park, where they had a bunch of like food vendors and vendors for other things like jewelry and, you know, souvenirs and things like that. So we walked around there for a bit. We went to this really amazing bakery called Angelina, which is a French bakery. They have locations like in Paris, and then they have a location in New York. That was really great. Then we just kind of hung out. We went to like a bar and we got dinner, and then our group split up Friday night. Some of my friends went to see Sweeney Todd with Josh Groban, and they really enjoyed it, by the way. But one of my friends and I decided to go see Titanic. And if you have been following me for a while, you would know that this is now my second time seeing this show. This is an off-Broadway show that is a parody of the film Titanic, and it is also a jukebox musical of Celine Dion songs. But I really wanted to take one of my friends in particular to see this because I knew that she would love it. And I just loved it so much that I needed to see it a second time. But yeah, like this was just as amazing as the first time that I saw it. What I love about this show is that it is a parody and it's so freaking hilarious, but also it really does pay tribute and homage to the queen that is Celine Dion. And there are just some incredible vocal performances going on. The actors in this show are just singing their faces off, and it is absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm just so glad that my friend loved it as much as I did. Like we really just had a fun time with this one for sure. Like I would see it for a third time. Absolutely. Like I feel like if you are going to New York within the next 6 months, because it is set to close next June, though it keeps getting extended. So like who knows if it's actually going to close in June. But if you are going to New York anytime soon, I would say this is a must see. Like that's how amazing this show truly is. If you are here for kind of like unhinged parodies, but also Celine Dion, like you're gonna love this, you know? So it's just so good. Saturday, we just kind of hung out. I don't think I got any footage actually of Saturday. We were just hanging out around the Lower East Side. We went to some art galleries. We hung out at some bars. We went to a bakery. Like we went to Kat's Deli, which is where When Harry Met Sally was filmed, which was really fun, but also like very chaotic because it's just like a huge deli. And yeah, and then yeah, on Sunday we went and saw Shucked at the Nederlander Theater. This is a musical comedy that I have heard really great things about. I knew going into it that it was going to be like really kooky and, you know, funny, over the top. And I will say, like, this is a show that I wouldn't necessarily recommend to everyone because, like, the sense of humor, like, lots of puns, very corny, haha, corny humor. The music is good. Really enjoyed that. I personally had a really fun time, but a couple of my friends in our group that went to this like didn't love it as much because of the humor. There's also a lot of like bathroom humor and, you know, things like that. But overall, I think it's a very well done show. I think that this is going to be very successful on tour. This production, the Broadway production, is closing in January. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to see it, was because it's closing soon. And I just thought it would be fun to see it with my friends. And, you know, overall, I really did have a fun time with it. The cast was really great. Just a really fun time. I think that the show might have been more successful on Broadway than it was had it been marketed better. Like, I feel like the marketing for the show is just like, it's corn. Surrender to the corn. Go see a show about corn. And it really is more than that. It's kind of like a Music Man-esque plot, if you know the musical Music Man. That like a con man comes to town and promises to fix their corn because the corn is dying, and there's like hijinks ensuing. There's like two main couples and lots of things going on with them. But yeah, the vocal performances were great in this. And like, if that vibe sounds appealing to you and you are going to New York within the next month or so, I would say go see it. Let's talk about reading. That's what we are here for. This is a book channel. So I just finished Not All Himbos Wear Capes by C. Rochelle. And oh my God, This truly is the superhero villain romance of my dreams. It's also MM. And the basic plot is that we have Butch, aka Captain Masculine. He is a hero of Big City, where this book takes place. And then there's Xander, aka Dr. Antihero, who is a villain, but he doesn't really have like superpowers, so he's not like a super villain. And him and Dr. Masculine have had like a few run-ins, but Butch and Xander end up matching on this dating app. And the chemistry, instant and amazing. Like, the connection that these two characters have is incredible. So sweet. Oh my God, so sweet, but also very, very sexy. And this is a dom sub relationship. There's so much going on in this book, and I just feel like it was done so well. I love superhero stories. You know, I love superhero stories. I love romances. You put that together, it's a match made in heaven. I loved the author's writing style. You know, there's a lot of humor in this, the right amount of camp. But there's also a very solid hero villain plot line going on that gives me very, very slight vibes of The Boys, which is a comic book series, but it's also a show on Amazon Prime, just because it's like, heroes may not be as great as we think they are, basically. And villains may not be all that horrible. Yeah, oh my God, I feel like this review is so like all over the place. Like, I am so scatterbrained right now, but like, oh, I just finished it and it's just like, this was so good. So, so good. Like, I can't even tell you like how many times I was just like swooning and like having butterflies in my stomach because of this connection that Xander and Butch have. And like, it's just literally the perfect balance of a sweet emotional romance with, you know, a lot of sexy times. There's a lot of hot sex scenes in this. And with the superhero plot, like, it's all just balanced so well. And it just makes me so excited to go on to the next book of the series. Also, the audiobook, you have to get the audiobook. The two narrators truly nailed these characters. Like, I really felt like I was listening to these characters, not just voice actors or narrators being the characters. Like, ugh, just unreal. Unreal. And I feel like there's things I'm forgetting about this that I'm gonna want to mention, but like, just know that I cannot recommend this highly enough. This is a book that has been on my TBR for months and months. I was waiting for the audiobook to come out. The audiobook came out probably a few months ago, and I just kept putting this off. But let's talk about what I am planning on reading this week. First of all, first priority is that I'm doing a collab with B from Mama Needs to Read Romance. She already posted her vlog, and I feel bad about that because I know that like she would have wanted us to post our vlogs at the same time, but that just wasn't possible because I was out of town and stuff. But we're doing a collab where we are reading historical romance novellas that are on Kindle Unlimited. So I already have a ton of them downloaded onto my Kindle, and I'm very, very excited to get into that. So I'll probably read at least one novella before I go to bed tonight. It's like 11 p.m. I definitely took a big old nap when I got home today. Our flight came in at around noon. Got lunch with my mom, and then I crashed. But yeah, so I'm definitely gonna read at least like one novella. But then in terms of just general reading plans for the week, I have some books here that I am very, very excited about getting to within the next few days. First one, my loan for the audiobook for Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow finally came in, by Gabrielle Zevin. So I'm definitely going to be starting this soon. This is just like contemporary literary fiction about, I believe, two friends that create a video game together. And I think there's some like romance. It's definitely not a romance novel, but I think it's like friends to lovers-ish, maybe, who knows. Then we have City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare, and look at this very 2008 metallic cover. This cover is a vibe. It is a whole vibe, and I'm here for it. So I decided to reread all the Shadowhunter Chronicles books because the newest series in this world, The Last Hours, I read book one of that series in 2020, and then I just kept putting off picking up the other 2 books of the series, and I'd gotten to a point where I was like, I feel like I've forgotten so much about what has happened in this world so far. So I decided to just go ahead and reread all of them, and honestly, it's the best decision I've made in a very long time, because I reread City of Bones, which is book 1 of the Mortal Instrument series. You should definitely read this series pretty much in publication order, so that's gonna be with City of Bones, you know, at least the first half of the Mortal Instrument series, because this series is broken up basically into 2 trilogies. And I just loved my rereading experience of City of Bones so much. First of all, I got the audiobook this time around. I'm definitely going to read all of these books with the audiobooks, and that always just helps immerse me into the story more than if I'm just physically reading something. But also, oh my God, I love this world so much, because we have our Shadowhunters, which are basically like descendants of angels, right? But you also get vampires and werewolves and fae and demons and warlocks. Like, you get so many types of magical creatures, and I just feel like Cassandra Clare has always done an amazing job of balancing all of those elements really well. And I also just love that this series takes place in New York. It was really cool because when we were walking around New York this weekend, I was thinking about different locations that are featured in City of Bones, and it was just like so cool, like so immersive and fun. But yeah, and I love these characters. Like, this is definitely very much like, you know, 2008 YA. Like, what can I say? It's just a whole vibe. So I am so excited to continue my rereading with City of Ashes. I'm also just in a very fantasy mood. Fantasy and fantasy romance. So that's also why I'm just like so in the mood to reread these books. And then we have another reread that is for House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. This is, if you somehow don't know, I mean, Sarah J. Maas is like the most popular author ever, I feel like, at this point because of Book Talk. This is book 1 in her Crescent City series, which is an adult fantasy series. I wouldn't call this fantasy romance necessarily, like maybe book 2 is. I still have not read House of Sky and Breath. But this first book is like maybe more romantic fantasy. Like, it's definitely more fantasy than romance. But anyways, I am rereading this because Jess from Peace Love Books asked me to be a co-host for the Crescent City read-along that she is putting together. And I jumped on that shit so fast because basically, if you know nothing else about me, know that if you are hosting a Sarah J. Maas read-along, I want to be a part of it. That's basically it. And so I am rereading this for the very first time. We have our live show on, I think it's December 17th. I will put the exact day and time here, and I believe it's on Jess's channel, but again, I'll put the correct information here. And I am honestly so excited now to reread this book. I feel like I've just been waiting to be in the mood to reread this. That's why I've been putting it off for so long. I read this for the first time in 2020 when it came out. And I've just been meaning to reread it because book 2 came out last year and I never picked it up. So now that I'm in the mood for fantasy again, like, I'm just so excited to start my reread of this. Probably gonna start my reread tomorrow because this is like 800 pages. And I'm thinking my goal is to read about 100 pages a day leading up to the live show on the 17th. I also have some books that I recently purchased on Black Friday. Amazon was having a buy 2 get the 3rd free sale, so I bought quite a few books from that sale. I think I have talked long enough for this very first update of this vlog, but I am just so excited for this month, so excited for what I'm going to be reading this week, this month. And I'm just so happy to take you guys along with me. All right, it's Wednesday, my dudes. It's just about noon. What's up? How's it going? First things first, I have book mail. I did not order anything from Amazon, so I don't know what this is. Let's see. We shall open this together. All right. I like to try to find the note first. Yay, there is a note. Because sometimes Amazon is poo-poo and they don't include the note in the package, and that is the worst. Merry Christmas, so happy to have you in my life, from Samantha. Oh my God, Samantha. I love you so much, Samantha. She Got Me Heartless Duke, which is book 2 in the League of Duke series. This is literally one of my favorite hate to love historical romances. It has captor captive. We have a heroine who might be a villain. She might have been a villain in book 1. And so the hero takes her captive and is trying to interrogate her, and she is not giving in, but they have crazy chemistry and tension, and it's so good. Cannot recommend this highly enough if you love hate to love romances. So good. So, oh my God, so happy to have this in my personal library now. Thank you so much, Samantha. Like, this means the world to me, for real. So reading update. I have now read 2 historical romance novellas that are on Kindle Unlimited. As I said in my last update, this is a part of a collab that I'm doing with B. I just watched her vlog yesterday and I really enjoyed it. Y'all, B is so funny. Like, she always has a skit at the beginning of her videos and they are so cute and clever and funny. And I just love her. I love her energy. I love her vibe. So one that I read this last night. This is one that B also read in her vlog. This is Never Keep a Secret at Christmas by Maggie Anderson. The story is so cute. So we have Alice, and her family live right next door to this grumpy old Earl. And so Alice befriends him, and that is really adorable. And then it turns out that this Earl has a grandson named Hugh, but they are estranged. And so Alice decides to meddle in their business, and she writes a letter to Hugh asking him to come to his grandfather's estate for Christmas. And so he shows up and he's like, who is this lady who just wrote me this letter? What is going on? And then he's immediately smitten with Alice. I mean, I think you just have to know that with a 35-page novella, things are going to move very quickly. Feelings are going to develop very quickly, you know. I mean, it definitely, I mean, they didn't say they loved each other by the end, but like, it was very clear that these two have very strong feelings for each other by the end. And this was just adorable and sweet. I gave it 4 stars. Like, there's really not much to say about it. And then I also read All I Want for Christmas by Chastity Bolin. This is about Philippa and Thomas. So Philippa is kind of being forced into marrying this old creepy dude. And so she definitely does not want that to happen. And then we have Thomas, who they grew up together. Thomas was one of her brother's best friends. We love that trope. So they decide to go into a fake courting, fake engagement situation, but they both have very real feelings for each other. Alice is afraid to confess her feelings because she just thinks that Thomas is just like a rake and he does not care for her. He just sees her basically as a little sister. Meanwhile, Thomas has very, very real feelings for her and is pretty much in love with her. At the beginning of the novella, I mean, they're both pretty much in love with each other. There's a lot of insta love going on for sure, because this novella was like 70 pages, I think. This one has a lot of drama. There was a kidnapping situation going on with another character, and Alice, our heroine. My battery died, oops. But all I was gonna say was that these 2 novellas are great if you prefer lower heat romances or clean romances, because the Never Keep a Secret at Christmas had absolutely no steamy scenes, and then this one, there was a steamy scene in the epilogue, and I think you could just like skim through that and then just read the very end and you'd be great. So I do want to make more of an effort to give those kinds of recommendations as well on my channel, because I know that some romance readers prefer that, right? So yesterday I did start Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I am on page 63 and this is just about 400 pages. I've been listening to the audiobook. I'm a couple hours in, really enjoying it so far. This is a contemporary literary fiction about Sadie and Sam, our 2 main characters, and how they first become friends when they're kids, and then something happens and they stop being friends, and then they see each other years later when they're both in college and they start being friends again. And this focuses a lot on video games, which I didn't know going in if I was going to be like super interested in that, because I don't personally play video games. However, I do really enjoy playing or watching let's play style videos on YouTube, like watching other people play video games, because I just like don't have the skills to play those games, but I enjoy like the stories and like watching the graphics and stuff. So that's actually been really cool seeing, like so far we've seen Sadie develop a couple of games for one of her classes at MIT, for instance, and like that is just such a cool part of this story. And so I think for that alone, I'm really gonna enjoy this book. I'm liking Sadie and Sam so far. I just have a feeling that Gabrielle Zevin is gonna put us through the ringer with these two. I feel like at some points we might hate these two characters and then we might love them at other points. So I think it's just gonna be a really interesting story about their friendship, and maybe at some point it turns into something more. We will just have to see, but I am really enjoying it so far, really liking the writing style. I'm just gonna continue listening to the audiobook while driving to and from work, and then I'll probably read a bit more of it tonight. My Wednesdays are so long. By the time I get home, it's usually like 10:30 p.m. and I'm like very tired, and I usually don't get a ton of reading done before I crash. But I'm hoping that I'll have some energy tonight because I just want to read all the things right now. And you know what? Work is getting in the way of that. As much as I enjoy my job and I enjoy making money, I want time to read. I want more time to read. Such a first world problem, I know. But yeah. So that's gonna be it. I have about an hour before I need to leave for work. I'm gonna go eat some lunch and then pretty much just get going, and I will talk to you guys later. Hey everyone, it is very, very late on Friday. Technically Saturday, it is 2 a.m. It feels like it has been a very long time since I've updated y'all because my last update was Wednesday morning-ish. And like I said, it's now like pretty much Saturday. I think I got a cold from my New York trip. And honestly, like, is anybody shocked? Certainly not myself. Because I was around hundreds and thousands probably of people throughout that weekend. You know, going to see all those shows and just walking around New York and being on the subway and stuff. Like, I am not shocked at all that I got a cold or whatever this was. But basically, like, throughout Wednesday afternoon into evening, I just started like feeling worse and worse, like just kind of weak, a little bit feverish. And so I was lucky enough to be able to get someone else to cover the one class that I teach on Wednesdays. I mainly do a lot of like admin work on Wednesdays, but I was able to get someone to cover that class so that I could go home early. And then throughout all day yesterday, I was just dealing with like a runny nose and congestion. And now I'm just dealing with like chest congestion, like phlegm. So I've been taking some Robitussin for the win, am I right? So I am feeling a lot better. Like the fever went away by like Thursday morning, but I was still feeling a little bit weak yesterday. And then by the time I woke up today, like I'm feeling pretty much normal with the exception of like the symptoms that I'm dealing with. Like I said, you know, chest congestion. So that's good that I'm feeling better. I have gotten, I guess, a decent amount of reading done today. It feels like I haven't gotten a ton of reading done this week, but I actually have, because like yesterday and today I, you know, didn't go to work obviously. And so like all day yesterday, let's get into the reading update. Speaking of, all day yesterday I was working through the last like, what was it, like at least 60% of Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. And even though this doesn't look like a super long book, it's about 400 pages, but the text is like super small. And the audiobook is like 14 hours. So like, this is a commitment. So being able to work through, like I said, the last 60% of this book or so yesterday is definitely a good amount of reading for sure. And I think the last time I updated you guys, I was like on page 60 of this book, and I was listening to chunks of it, you know, driving to and from work, but I really wanted to get this finished yesterday. So that's what I dedicated most of my day to, that and sleeping, let's be real. This was fantastic. I absolutely loved this. Couldn't help but give it 5 stars. I think I went into the plot in my last update, but this is about 2 friends, Sam and Sadie. Sometimes they're friends, sometimes they're frenemies, bordering on enemies. You know, it's just like a very interesting relationship between these 2 characters. And this book spans over like 30 years, how they met when they were children, and then they had a falling out, and then they become friends again in college, and then they start making video games together, and they form a video game production company. And, you know, it just kind of takes us through the years of their lives and of the different games that they create. There's also a 3rd pretty major character named Marks, who ends up, I think, being like the CEO of their video game company. And he's kind of known as like the NPC throughout the book. But I have to say, the section that we did get in his POV was one of my favorite parts of the book. Loved his character too. I can see why this book has gotten mixed reviews. I think a lot of people that don't love this book don't love it because of Sam and Sadie, our 2 main characters, and I totally understand that. They are not very likable people. They are very flawed characters. And they definitely weren't my favorite part of this book. The reason why I loved it so much was the writing, like, really hooked me. I was like super invested in this story and in Zevon's writing. Like, those 2 things for me are what really sold the book. For me personally, I was just like so invested to the point where I completely forgot about my own life and my problems, and I was just like in this book. I was with these characters. I was like in it, right? And I love when books can do that to you. Like, that's why I love reading so much, is for the escapism, right? Is to be fully invested in a story. And I also just loved reading about the different video games that they were coming up with. Like, they all sounded really cool, and I wish that I could like look up playthroughs of these games. I wish that they were real. I loved the meaning of the title, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. It is a reference to a soliloquy in the Shakespeare play Macbeth, but it also has a very significant meaning in terms of video games. Like, I thought that was really cool. So yeah, 5 stars for me. I really loved this. I love epic feeling literary fiction novels like this that span over many years, and like, I just love a story that really sucks me in, and that's what this book did. So I would personally highly recommend it if the plot sounds at all interesting to you. So I have also started 2 other books that I mentioned earlier in the vlog. I am on page, let's see, 78 of City of Ashes, book 2 in the Mortal Instruments series. And man, I have forgotten so much about what happens in these books. I will say I was kind of proud of myself, because like, for some reason I remembered the gist of how this book starts. Like, why are like random scenes living in my head rent free from these books? But I also realized earlier today, like a little while ago, that it's been 5 years since I read these books for the first time. I read the Mortal Instruments series and the Infernal Devices series 5 years ago in 2018, when I was like fresh out of grad school and I was looking for a new hobby. And then I also just finished up reading the first 100 or so pages of House of Earth and Blood, the first Crescent City book by Sarah J. Maas. My goal is to read about 100 pages a day, because we have our first live show for the Crescent City read-along next Sunday evening. So yeah, I'm on page 107 right now and already really loving this rereading experience. I do remember the world building being a bit clunky, especially in the first 100 pages or so, and it just being kind of hard to understand like what exactly was going on with all of that, because this is obviously a very vast world that Sarah J. Maas is building, even in, you know, the first chunk of this book. Like, you can tell how vast it is, right? But I will say, like, upon rereading, I found the first 100 pages to be easier to get through. And that's not just because I'm rereading it, because I read this book for the first time 3 years ago. I'm not retaining like any of the world building, right? But yeah, this time around, I think because I knew I needed to go in with a lot of patience, I did. And so, yeah, reading this first chunk of the book was definitely more enjoyable this time around. This book starts off just crazy. In the first like 60 pages or so, we're introduced to Bryce, our main character, and her best friend Danica. She is a werewolf, which I forgot that, by the way. I forgot that Danica was a werewolf, you know, and she's the leader of her own pack. And then, like, this isn't a spoiler because, like I said, it happens in the first 60 pages and it's mentioned in the synopsis, but like Danica and her whole pack get brutally murdered, like to the point where they're like unrecognizable. And yeah, like that is just so heartbreaking to read again. Oh, goodness gracious. That is going to be it for this update. I think I am going to, I need to start editing this vlog. That's the tea. That's the real tea. I have not edited a single clip of this vlog, and I know that just the New York clips alone, that's gonna take me a while to edit. So I should probably do that. But then I also just wanna jump back into City of Ashes because I'm only about 70 pages in. So I definitely wanna get more of this read tonight as well. So I'll probably give you guys an update maybe tomorrow. Or maybe Sunday. I think I'm just gonna do one more update for this vlog as a whole, so I'll see you guys later. All right, what's up, my dudes? It is Sunday night. We gotta wrap up this vlog. This is gonna be a long one. I have a feeling. I have not fully edited all of the clips yet for this, but this is gonna be a long one because this was technically a week and a half, not just a week vlog, you know, because of my New York trip and stuff. But we are going to give a reading update, and then as you can see here, I've got a lot of books stacked up here. I have a book haul to show you guys. I think I mentioned this earlier in the week. So yeah, I finished my reread of City of Ashes by Cassandra Clare earlier tonight. I actually read the entire second half of this today. What's interesting is that the first time that I read this, I gave it 4.5 stars. I really, really loved it. I thought that it was like leaps and bounds better than City of Bones, but this time around I'm giving it 4 stars. I feel like it's comparable to City of Bones in terms of like my enjoyment and the story and everything. I'm also finding that this time around I'm just enjoying the characters more. I feel like the first time I read this I got annoyed, especially with Simon, and I just really like his character this time around, and like Jason Clary, I think I like their characters more as well. And so yeah, I'm just vibing with this reread and with this series. I'll probably pick up City of Glass maybe at some point next week. We will just have to see, but I also have so many other books that I want to read in the near future that are not rereads, so we will just have to see. But yes, definitely enjoying my time back in the Shadowhunter world. So let's get to this book haul. Look at all these books. Okay, so some of these books are just like random book purchases, and then like these other 2 stacks over here are books that I bought because Amazon was having a buy 2 get the 3rd free promotion during like Black Friday, and I just couldn't resist when I saw all of the books that were a part of that promotion. So the first couple books are just like random purchases. I did cave and get this beautiful exclusive holiday edition of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros with the black sprayed edges. Have I read this book yet? No. I think I'm the last person in the romance booktube community that has not read this book. Yeah, also I'm not rushing to read this because apparently Rebecca Yarros hasn't even like started writing book 3, which is just crazy to me when books 1 and 2 came out in the span of like what, 6 months apart from each other. Like that's just crazy that she hasn't even begun writing book 3. So definitely not rushing into this, but this has been a very, very, very hyped up fantasy romance series for sure, and this cover is just everything, so very excited to have that. And I did go ahead and I pre-ordered these came out I think November 7th, and I did also pre-order a copy of Iron Flame with the black edges as well. I've heard that people aren't loving this book as much as book 1, and I feel like that is a critique of so many fantasy series that we have all read. And it just like makes me sad to see like a very strong book 1 and then book 2 just, you know, isn't quite as good. But nevertheless, I am excited to pick these up at some point. It just won't be anytime soon, I know that. I did go ahead and get Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This is the stunning UK edition. I specifically got mine from Waterstones. I also pre-ordered book 2, which is also a gorgeous cover. I think that this cover is like 10 billion times more beautiful than the US cover. It's just, yeah, this is just so, so pretty. The back just says 2 rivals, 2 stories, 2 hearts, 1 fate. I am actually planning on starting this, if not at some point tonight. We will just have to see, because I still need to read my 100 pages of Crescent City. Like I told you guys, I'm reading 100 pages a day of Crescent City, and I haven't done that yet today. So I also have to edit this vlog, read those 100 pages, so I may not get to this tonight, but I will definitely start it tomorrow. I have the audiobook on my Libby app at the moment, and I am just so, so excited. This is a YA historical romance with some fantastical elements. I've heard some mixed reviews, but I've also heard some 5-star reviews from people whose opinions I really trust. Then I also pre-ordered this new special edition of Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. Like, we gotta talk about this cover. Oh my God. Like, this gold foiling, and it does have orange sprayed edges. I think this is beautiful. One of the things that excited me about this is that there are annotations from Mia Sheridan in the margins. Like, I think that that's so cool. I feel like that's gonna make this an amazing rereading experience. Also, oh my God, this naked hardcover. Are we joking? Oh my God, well worth the like $25 that I spent on this. This is a romance novel that I absolutely loved when I read it for the first time in 2021, and I have not read it since. So I'm planning on rereading it maybe soon. Then, oh my God, can we tell that I am in a fantasy mood? Like, we have 2 huge stacks of fantasy novels going on. First up, I got A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Like I said, these 2 stacks of books were a part of that Amazon promotion that I talked about. This is like part paranormal romance, but just like part gothic fiction. It's like a kind of a retelling of Dracula, huh? Darkly seductive tale of Dracula's first bride, Constanta. This is my last love letter to you, though some would call it a confession. So begins a tale of obsession, desire, and control. So begins her revenge. Oh, that sounds amazing. I have heard incredible things about this book. This cover in particular really drew me in. The original cover is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But this cover is next level. I think that is absolutely beautiful. So I got that. I got Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mehrer. What's interesting about this is that it has red sprayed edges, and is it just me? I don't know how I feel about the red versus this like muted mauvey light purple color. I feel like it doesn't quite go, but I mean, I'm always happy to have books with sprayed edges in my personal collection. This is book 1 in a fantasy romance series where we have a villain and the heroine becomes his assistant. This gives me vibes of Nimona, if you have read that graphic novel, though that story is not a romance, but it does center around this villain who hires this assistant who is like the opposite of him in every way. He's grumpy, she's sunshine, you know, and I think that's also the vibe of this one. I have heard that there really isn't much romance in this first book. And then the second book isn't coming out till next August. I did go ahead and pick up the other 2 books in the, I don't even know what the series is called, but the first book was called Once Upon a Broken Heart. Book 2 is Ballad of Never After. I cannot even tell you how obsessed I am with these covers. I think that they are just beautiful and simple and totally match the whimsical fairy tale vibe that I get from the synopsis of this series. And then book 3 just recently came out. This is A Curse for True Love. Like, just a beautiful, beautiful cover. This is a YA fantasy romance series. That's like kind of connected to her Caraval series, but I have heard that you can definitely just read this on its own, so that's what I'm planning on doing. So I did go ahead and pick up Children of Fallen Gods by Carissa Broadbent. This is book 2 in her The War of Lost Hearts series. I got book 1 of this series last year for Christmas for my mom, so I need to pick up that book. There's so many fantasy series that I want to start this month right away. It's a little overwhelming, but here we are. I've heard amazing things about this series. I've heard that it has like very slight Throne of Glass vibes, and speaking of, we'll get to that in a minute. But it's also adult fantasy romance, so it's gonna have a different vibe for sure. But I've just heard nothing but phenomenal things about this book for sure. And I want to see what the naked hardback looks like. Oh, that is so pretty. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Oh, that is beautiful. I love that. And then the last couple books for this stack, I decided to get Marissa Meyer's Gilded duology. So I'll show you. Book 1 is Gilded. So that looks like, and then book 2 is called Cursed. I cannot with these covers. It's giving me all like the gothic fantasy vibes. What I'm so excited about with this duet in particular, first of all, I have been a fan of Marissa Meyer for years. Like 5 years at this point. I've read pretty much all of her books. I love her Luna Chronicle series. I loved the Renegade series. I thought that she did a really good job of writing superheroes. I adore Heartless, which is her version of a villain origin story for the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. And I remember hearing in an interview that she did a few years back that she really wanted to write a Rumpelstiltskin inspired story, and that's what this is. So because this has been in the works for years, I'm very, very excited. And last, but certainly not least, I caved and I bought all of the new paperbacks for the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. This series is, if not my top favorite series of all time, definitely in my top 5. I don't think I've decided what my top favorite book series is, but like, it's definitely up there. And when I saw these new covers that Bloomsbury announced, I knew that I needed them in my collection, but I wasn't like rushing to buy them because I already own this series, you know, in hardback. But this whole series was a part of that buy 2 get the 3rd free promotion, so I felt that I had no excuse and I just needed to go ahead and buy them. So I'll show the covers individually. First of all, we have The Assassin's Blade, which is the bind up of prequel novellas. I just adore the vibe of these covers, and I feel like they match the series so well. Then we have Throne of Glass. Here we go. Love this. Next is Crown of Midnight. I love how this cover represents Otterlawn, which is the primary location that both the first 2 books take place in. Then we have Heir of Fire. I love that we have a representation of like Abraxos and a representation of Rowan, and it's like they're reflected off of each other. And this is the book where the series and the world really expands. Definitely one of my top favorite books of the series. Then we have Queen of Shadows, which I think is still my top favorite book of the series if I had to pick top favorite. I love this representation of Morath. I think that is so cool. Then we have Empire of Storms, which is definitely my second favorite of the series, if not my top favorite. Like, it's definitely a toss-up for me between Queen of Shadows and Empire Storms, like which book I love more. I feel like I flip-flop a lot on that, but this cover is a fantastic representation of one scene in particular in this book, and it's one of the most epic scenes ever. I love it, love it, love it, love it so much. We have 2 more books left, Tower of Dawn. And then finally, last but not least with this series, we've got this big old brick. Look how thick that is, like compared to like Queen of Shadows. Oh, look at that, I cannot. But this is Kingdom of Ash. And I love this cover so much because it's like the perfect representation of the very end of the book. And I adore that so much. So yeah, there is that. So that is it for my book haul. Y'all, I am such a mess. I literally was putting, all my books away and getting ready to like do some editing, move on from this. And I totally forgot to update you guys about my little historical romance novella project that I was doing this week. Like, I feel like I haven't done any updates about that in quite a few days. Oops. Sorry, B. Like, this has been a very chaotic week. I don't even know, did I mention Christmas Wishes by Wendy Vela? I gave this one 3 stars. This one had a really cute premise. Oh, and I think I mentioned this already, but part of the project too was finding novellas that are on Kindle Unlimited specifically. But this one is about Hero. She runs her own little orphanage basically, and she goes to the local lord or nobleman who is, what's his name? Max, to try to get him to donate funds for the orphanage. Gave this 3 stars. This is one of those books that it just felt longer than it was, and that is not good. This was like a 90-page novella, and it felt like I was reading like something more like 150 to 160 pages. I was just, it felt that slow. But it was still cute for what it was. And then I also did read Eleanor Fitzherbert's Christmas Miracle by Maggie Anderson. This is the same author that wrote Never Keep a Secret at Christmas, a novella I talked about earlier in the week. I gave this one 3 stars as well. This one had kind of a similar plot involving a young child, kind of. We have Eleanor, who is a widow, and then, what was his name? What's the hero's name? Mark, I think? And he's a widower. And I will say I liked that dynamic. I don't think I've read a historical, at least not in recent history, where like both main characters had lost a spouse. So I thought that was interesting. But basically the main part of this plot is really that there's this young boy named Nash who comes to Eleanor's house to sweep the chimney, and he gets stuck, and so her and Mark help him out of the chimney, and she in particular grows really close to him and basically wants to adopt him. But also they both want to find out like who his biological parents are. So a big part of this is really centered around like this child and finding out, about their family history and stuff. So yeah, this was cute too, but like nothing amazing. I definitely enjoyed the other Maggie Anderson novella more. So this little project I feel was just like fine for me, and I feel like it was just fine for B, judging on watching her vlog. I didn't find any 5-star novellas, unfortunately, off of KU. But I found a couple of 4-star novellas that I really liked, and then a couple of 3 stars that were just like, okay. So we are officially done with Vlogmas week 1, guys. This was a long vlog, I'm sure. I have not fully edited it yet, but I'm sure that it's gonna be very long. So thank you for sticking with me. I hope that you guys enjoyed this week and a half or so, coming to New York with me and getting all my reading updates and things like that. I'm very excited to film a few more Vlogmas vlogs over the course of this month for sure. So definitely, come along for the ride with me this December. So with that being said, I'd love it if you leave a comment down below if you want to tell me about books that you've been reading lately that you've been loving. And with that being said, I would love it if you would leave a like and subscribe. Thank you so much in advance if you do, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.